Hi guys, Rizal here from the Hefni Guitar channel. This week's video is about the origins of the CAGED system. A quick Google search will reveal that the first time CAGED is mentioned in print is in a 1975 Guitar Player magazine article. This is the article I was telling you about. I managed to download it onto my computer. Let me see, that's 1, 2, 3, and 4 pages. So it's a 4-page article. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, so you can see even the guitar player, I guess the logo, right, it's faded already, and it's May 1975. The article in question, okay, by John Sievert over here, I think that's how it's pronounced. I've gone through this beforehand, so let me give you a quick preview. Basically, the first page of this article talks about this school called Blue Bear Waltz's School of Genuine Music. It's based in San Francisco, 2403 Ocean Avenue. And this whole, I guess, first page of this editorial basically talks about the school, the ethos of the school, what it's about, what they hope to achieve. But it gets interesting on the second page, where this is the first time it mentions one Keith Allen, a 20-year-old designer of Blue Bear's guitar fingerboard courses. So basically, this young chap, okay, back in 1975, came up with this system, and if you read a little bit deeper, it basically talks about this syllabus that this Keith Allen actually came up with. There's actually 4, okay, they call it fingerboard classes. So fingerboard 1, 2, 3, and 4. Fingerboard 1 deals with the 5 basic major chord types at the open position and how you bar them in order to transpose them to different keys and to different frets. Okay, fingerboard 2 introduces the minor chords through the concept of altering chord tones and the modes. Okay, fingerboard 3 takes, okay, I'm reading here now, fingerboard 3 class takes up 4-note chords, including 6 and major, minor, dominant, half diminished, and diminished 7th. So 7th chords, meaning 4-note chords. Okay, and it continues. The difference between 3 and 4 gets a little bit hazy. 4 deals with your tensions, your chord extensions, your 9s, 11s, and 13s. Okay, so and each one of these, I'm guessing this fingerboard class is actually a module, right? Because it says it lasts about 3 months. So if you finish 4 of these modules, it'll probably take you about a year. Okay, so as you can see now on screen, this is where it gets interesting, right? It shows you, well, this looks like scale patterns to me. Okay, looking at this, I'm guessing the horizontal lines are your strings, your vertical lines are your frets. So the numbers above the frets, okay, numbers on the strings are the scale intervals. Numbers above the frets are the fingerings. Okay, so these are the fingerings on top of the frets. Circled numbers are the major chord tones. Okay, so let's see, circled numbers 1, 5, 1, 3, 5. Okay, so the chord tones are 1, 3, and 5, right? So in the order that you can actually play them on the fingerboard, 1, 3, and 5, so you have your major chord. Okay, right? So this is the E-type bar chord. Then you have the D-type bar chord. Okay, here you can see that. Right, so this is the D shape. And this is the C shape, obviously. And this is the A shape. Okay, so reading up beforehand, it's interesting because this article by Keith, or this Guitar Player magazine article, it did not even mention CAGED once. But clearly you can see the concepts of CAGED being apparent in this, I guess, article. We can see the chords, so the C shape, the A shape, the G shape, E shape, and then the D shape, although he didn't call it that at the time. There is no mention of CAGED here. The interesting thing that you discover is that there are 2 shapes, no, there are 2 scale patterns that fit the A as well as the G shapes. So looking at this, okay, let me zoom in, okay? Right. So, okay, to summarize, this article says that, okay, there are two scale patterns that fit over the G and the A shape. So looking at this one, this is the A shape. You have this pattern, but at the same time, you have this scale pattern for the A shape. So you can see the A shape over there with the circled fingers. Similarly for G, okay, there are two G type chords. Okay, the G shape over here is the one that we know from CAGED, right? The G shape, the open G. But there's also the G bar chord type shape over here, which they call G, which if you follow CAGED, you know that this is actually the E shape, okay? So there's a little bit of confusion over there, but I think the main takeaway here is that clearly these things, if this article is to be believed, that CAGED is mentioned the first time in print or anywhere in history is in this article, then this is the guy who probably came up with it, okay? However, as I mentioned, I did not really find CAGED, the moniker, the title being used in this article. So I'll put this link up for you guys to research on by yourself. Okay, the interesting thing here, also the scale patterns. Okay, if this is CAGED, okay, they actually peg your chord types with the actual scale patterns. So a lot of the times when you see the CAGED videos that try to introduce CAGED, it's only about chords. Okay, the more advanced learners among the guitar playing community know that obviously there are scales that can be pegged with CAGED. Okay, but I think a lot of especially the beginner guitar players, this is probably lost on you. So let us examine that, because my course that I'm trying to develop is about scales. So I want to see what is CAGED scales, what CAGED scales are all about. So if this is the original, okay, let's take a look. Okay, so looking at this, okay, let's examine the E bar chord type first. Okay, clearly this is the E bar chord type shape. This looks like a 3-note per string, except okay, now I get it. Okay, so it does look like a 3-note per string scale pattern, but because you actually have the note, which is the 5th here, as well as the 5th over here, so I'm assuming it gives you the option of playing either this note or this note when you are soloing. If you're playing a chord, you obviously cannot play 2 notes on the same string at the same time. So to play a chord, you play the circled note. So this is the E shape. Okay, this appears to me more like what the positional based scale fingering looks like. It's very interesting. Not necessarily 3 notes per string, and not necessarily the standard chord patterns which I learned using the mechanics of metal. Okay, I'll do another video on that after this. Okay, now let's go to the other chord or scale shapes. Okay, let's take a look. So this looks like the Dorian 3-note per string shape. Let's take a look at this one. Okay, this one, the C-type bar chord. This one looks pretty standard, right? Some of us might call this the Phrygian shape because it's based on the bottom 7 notes, right? So yeah, so this one is pretty standard. So if this is the original CAGED, I guess scale chord, I guess combo, then this has always been around. Okay, I call this the Phrygian shape. Next one, okay, this one looks, okay, again, okay, this is the A shape. Looks like a Mixolydian 3-note per string, but more of like a positional based scale shape. Okay, I'm guessing why the numbers are as such above the frets. Okay, I remember there's a Berkeley book, A Modern Method of Guitar, where they actually use this concept where 1 finger on each fret, and if there's any notes before the 1st fret, you use your first finger to stretch to reach it, and any note above the 4th finger on the next fret, you actually use your 4th finger to stretch it, which is kind of cool, right? I suppose this also trains, I guess, finger independence when you use 4 notes or 4 fingers rather than 3. Okay, and this looks pretty similar. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, this is the second A bar chord shape. So this one looks like a Lydian 3-note per string. Okay, so far we have a lot of 3-note per string or positional based chord fingerings. G type bar chord. Okay, this is what it's labeled here, but we know this as the G shape. Okay, and this one looks like the Aeolian or minor scale pattern. Okay, and lastly, okay, this one is standard. This is like your major scale shape, right, or your Ionian shape or Locrian, depending on where you want to start. So okay, so this one's pretty standard. Okay, let me zoom out. Hope you guys are following me. I know this can be a bit confusing, but okay, let's confuse ourselves together. So there are 7 scale fingerings, and only 2 of them are familiar to me in terms of your, I call them the basic scale patterns, whereas all of the others are more of your positional based or 3-note per string based scale system. Okay, in any case, right, no matter, right? So we've got some, I guess, insight into this. Let's see what else. Okay, so this is the infinite fretboard diagram. So similar to your CAGED system, only in this image, figure 2, let me zoom in and center it. It doesn't start with a C shape, and I guess there's no indication of any, I guess, fretboard or fret numbers. So okay, so let's assume that this is the string nut, then this would be the key of, I guess, F, right? So if this is a string nut, so the E type, D type, C type, A type, G type, E type again. Okay, but if we were to start from C, then we get C, A, G, E, and then D again. So the CAGED system is clearly apparent here. Interesting when I don't see any, I guess, title that calls this the CAGED system. So we can only assume that the name CAGED was given to this after the fact. Probably some guy later on, right, realized that, okay, you rearrange the names and it spells CAGED, right? If you start from C and it repeats itself. Whether or not it's Mr. Keith Allen himself as the originator of that title, but clearly the system is actually already here. Okay, even though it's not called CAGED at the time, as far as I know, please correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, it's very interesting because, okay, let's check out, okay, Blue Bear Waltzes, School of Genuine Music. Okay, there you go. Okay, they're still around. Wow, okay, Blue Bear School of Music celebrates 50 years. Okay, right, so this is the website. Let's see what we can see. Close that banner. Okay, so they've just celebrated 50 years.
Music calls to us, speaks to our hearts, and echoes in our soul.
Oh, Jack Black.
Its rhythms move us. Its melodies.
Could it be, could it be that this was the real School of Rock
and ourselves.
that inspired the movie?
50 years, we
Okay, I don't know. Okay, let's skip forward.
and how thousands.
Oh, School of Hard Rockers. What was that? Okay, that's very interesting. So that means this school quite possibly was the inspiration behind the Jack Black movie, School of Rock. Okay, well, okay, let's see what else that we can see. Okay, we know that they celebrated 50 years, 1971. Okay, Blue Bear is born. I don't see anything about the CAGED system over here, right? Regardless, I mean, you got to give credit where credit is due, right? So if these guys were the first to actually come up with that system, no, I don't see anything about CAGED. Nonetheless, right, they have to be credited as being I guess, the originators of the system. We'll talk about, okay, the controversies of CAGED in a little bit. Let's see, okay. Programs, adult, teens. Okay, so it's just like a music, I guess. They don't offer like diplomas, I think, programs, right? So adults, diploma or degree programs. No, it's more like private lessons. Okay, there you go. Okay, there you have it. Too bad, 50. I think we have to, I guess, I don't know, right? Send an email to these guys and say thank them for coming up with the CAGED system. If it is them, if it is truly, if that article from Guitar Player is supposed to be the truth, right? Anyway, I'll leave this for you to check out by yourselves. Very interesting. Okay, so let's quickly talk about I guess the controversies with CAGED. Okay. Okay, from my own personal experience, I did not learn using the CAGED system. I learned through this other system, okay, for scales, which is called the Mechanics of Metal. Yes, I was a metaler when I was younger. And it was by this guy named Peter Greenfield, right? It was first published in 1986. I got it in the early 90s. So it did not talk about the chords like the CAGED system, right? Mechanics of Metal was mostly about power chords, okay? So, but we did learn the scales, and as I said, there were two scales which are similar as let me go back to it, right? So the C type bar chord, or the Phrygian shape, as well as the Ionian or Locrian shape. Okay, so the thing is, I think the controversy is that this, I guess, system, right, it's already been around, whether or not you call it CAGED, as evident from this article. And the natural geometry of the fretboard, the way the instrument is tuned, will automatically result in this, I guess, chord shapes. So what's the earliest that CAGED was actually mentioned in print or in publication? Officially though, I did a quick Google search and I found this book printed in 1989 called the Fretboard Logic SE. I don't know what that means, special edition. The reasoning behind the guitar's unique tuning plus chord scales and arpeggios, complete by Bill Edwards, okay, published January 1st, 1989. So if we were to take a look at the content, okay, oh actually no, first time it's published in 1983, okay, so I'm guessing this was a later edition. But over here, as you can see, right, so CAGED sequence. Okay, I don't know whether this is the first time officially the term has been used, or whether this Bill Edwards was the first guy to actually put the name together. I don't know, but maybe you guys can enlighten me if I can share what information that you may have. In any case, this is the earliest evidence that I can find, okay, where CAGED is actually mentioned in print, so 1983. Okay, so hope to hear from you guys. Just write in the comments if you find something.